Hey guys, what is going on this morning? Come on now. Brent Abel here, webtennis.com. Another episode of 7 Around 7. And look, been a little erratic lately with the posting. The 7 Around 7. Been traveling, couple of to-do things I had to go down to the desert, back to Steamboat, down to Denver, back to Steamboat, kind of crazy stuff lately. So my schedule's been a little goofy. Anyway, back on track with 7 Around 7, and hope you guys are doing well. Look, what I got for you today is a follow-up to, ironically, middle of the night last night, I woke up and kind of just all of a sudden, boom, there was this thought about what I wanted to do today with 7 Around 7. And the ironic part is this morning I get a Facebook message from a friend of mine, a student, and let me just kind of read what he typed to me. And it was, "Hey Brent, hope things are going well. I have a request for 7 Around 7 or as a separate course. Once someone determines what it is they want to focus on, spacing, prep work, etc., how do they practice that skill other than just being mindful of it? More specifically, what does practice look like over a week, over a month? The more day by day it can be broken down, the better." I think Tim Ferriss one time phrased it something like this, quote, "If you had 1 month to make someone demonstrably better at X, and if you were going to be paid $1 million if that person succeeded, what would you have them do to get better over a 30-day period?" And, that's really what my thought was. My thought was in the middle of the night, which was, how do I help you guys create a practice environment, right? And to me, it's a general question that we need to get broken down into. I think it kind of goes to that old saying, which is, give a man a fish and you feed him for a day, teach a man to fish and you feed him for a lifetime, right? And so for me, I think one of the biggest frustrations I have right now with all of the online teaching, and look, it's just not tennis. I see it in everything. And it's all this hypey type of, here's how to do something in 3 easy steps in, by tomorrow, by Friday, and all this craziness, in terms of instant gratification. And so, look, I just kind of feel like at times, at least in the tennis space, I'm kind of the Lone Ranger here in terms of, I don't mean literally. I mean, there are other teaching pros out there I know who fully believe that this stuff takes practice, and really it gets down to that thing in terms of teach a man to fish. It's like, if I could teach you how to practice, how to really do quote unquote deep practice, you'd simply become a better player. In terms of, if you really believed in something called myelination, right? And if you've picked up the book by Daniel Coyle, Coyle, his unbelievably great book, which is The Talent Code. And if you've not read this book, God dang it, I really want you to do so, because it really breaks down the reality of learning, the reality of getting better at something. And if I could teach you how to do that, then I think, in answer to my friend and my student's question, which would be, if someone was to pay me $1 million bucks, that if I could make you succeed at X within 30 days, this is what I do. Is epiphany part first. Let's take a forehand. Let's take a topspin rally ball forehand, for example. And maybe right now the problems that you're having with it, the challenges that you're having with it, it's not going in the court often enough, right? Or if it does go in the court, it's not consistently deep. It's not consistently where you want it to go. And so if I could teach you, how to fish, right, that I would start with the epiphany part. I would show you, here's the end result, but we're not going to practice the end result. And I see, and look, I've been guilty of this, I think, for way too long. Is I would go out there and I would go, for example, I want to hit cross courts, a topspin forehand, rally ball cross court, and I'd go out there with either a practice partner or maybe the ball machine or whatever, and I would practice hitting the end result. And the end result is, look, the end result is that it assumes that there's, a decently paced incoming ball, right? The end result is that I'm hitting a decently paced rally ball. All of this stuff happens so fast that you can't feel what you're working on, right? And so if you're not right now getting the result that you want with your topspin forehand rally ball, there's some glitch in there. There's some flaw. And what you're doing in terms of myelination, and look, I'm not going to go into the whole biological thing, the whole anatomical thing about myelination, other than it's real, right? When we do something, when we repeat something over and over, we create biologically this kind of insulation along the nerve cell, right? That is telling our brain, this is what we want to do over and over again. And when you're doing the wrong thing, obviously you're sort of, and you're kind of grooving, lack of a better term. You're kind of grooving the wrong thing over and over. And if you end up going, well, today I'm going to go out there and I'm going to practice. The end result. It's just happening too fast, and you're just not learning about it. So what would I teach you over the next 30 days? So that someone would pay me $1 million so that you get the result you want, is I would start with the epiphany, which would be to show you, here's the end result. However, that's not what we're going to practice. We're going to take the end result and we're going to break it apart into different parts, into different chunks, right? And let's say that the topspin forehand rally ball has got, let's say, 3 fundamental parts. And I'm going to show you what each one of those parts is, and we're going to take part 1, and I'm going to show you how to learn it in slow motion so that you start to myelinate the nerves, right? In terms of grooving this part of the end result in this very, very slow way. And we're initially going to start it with rehearsing it. We're not going to have any tennis balls at all. We're going to rehearse it over and over and over until it's exactly what it should look like. It's exactly what it should feel like. It's exactly what we want to start the myelination process, so that you start to build up. That myelinating process, fiber, protein, whatever it is. And then we're going to introduce a very slow incoming ball. Might even be a stationary ball, one of those stationary ball training aids, right? Where again, you're not, and here's the big thing. I remember, I think I bought one of the early, it was called a practice hit. And it was a stationary ball. And you would put sand in this plastic base. And I had this plastic kind of little thin arm. And you'd hit the ball and it would go back and forth, right? But the problem was that people were coming out there, and maybe it was my fault for doing it, but they'd come out there and they'd swing 1,000,000 miles an hour, never feeling what's the first part that we just rehearsed. And stationary ball, do it slowly. When you do things slowly, you are myelinating, right? You are creating the groove for that part of the swing. And so start with the stationary ball, then go to an underhand fed ball, still very slow swings so that it's exactly what you want. And then you'd move on to the second part, and then you'd move on to the third part. And I don't know how long it would take. I mean, $1 million for 30 days, dude, I'd be working like a dog with you. And we would probably be doing this for a few hours every day. We'd be doing my Wednesday morning 9 to 12, 3-hour Tom Stowe thing that was on, it was just one day of the week. Man, I'd be doing that every day for 30 days. And I would start off super slow, and it might be boring for the first 21 days. It might be boring, but we're building up interest, right? It's the way interest works. I mean, you've heard that thing about if you double a penny every day for 30 days, what do you get? It's crazy. And I can't remember the exact number, but if you take a penny on day one, well, day two, you have 2 cents. If you double that on day two, you have 4, and you go on. And the number after 30 days is astronomical. Well, it's the same thing here. If you continue to put in that 30 days of work, and in the beginning, it just seems like there's no progress, right? The doubling of the penny, just, God dang it. And really the big work, the big payoff, the big payment probably happens the last 5 to 7 days of that 30 days, where you've now myelinated the correct parts of that topspin forehand swing, rally ball. And so, look, I've kind of rambled on here. So here's what I want you to do is, number one, is I want you to go buy the book, The Daniel Coyle, The Talent Code. And I want you to read that thing in like 3 sessions. I mean, why not take a few hours someday, sit down, turn off your phone, turn off the TV, and just bang the thing out? Could you read it in one day? Of course you could. I'm not saying that you should do it all in one day, but I'd get it done. And then I would, and then when you're going through it, highlight that thing, right? If you have a paper copy, fine, just underline it or highlight it. If you've got what I do, which is the iPad version, you can highlight there. Then go back and look at your highlights, right? I know this is boring stuff. I know you want the answer, man. How do I take my topspin forehand today and make it perfect? I'm not your guy. I know there's plenty of guys out there hyping that promise, but look, let's get real. Let's get real. So first thing, buy the book. Second thing is, as I've been telling you lately, you got to have a model to copy. God, yeah, I cannot believe it. I put that questionnaire out there about what's the one stroke you really today want to get better at. And then the second part is, and who is your model? Who are you copying? And I got to be honest with you that probably 8 out of 10 of the models were like guys who were 1 or 2 in the world, meaning that's what you're trying to copy. And I said, okay. I went back to some of these guys and I just said, okay, have you got video of this person? And they go, what do you mean? And I said, well, how are you trying to model and copy, Fed's this or that, or Rafa's this or that, or whatever, or Novak's this or that? There was no response. I mean, there was a response of, well, I don't have the video. And I said, well, then how are you going to copy and model it? So I'm really I'm going off on you today. Anyway, look, so get the book, Daniel Coyle, Talent Code. Who is the model you want to copy for, let's say, the examples of topspin forehand, rally ball, right? Who's the model, right? And let's try to make the model realistic. I mean, if there's some pro out there who's got a realistic forehand you can copy, okay. And then do you have video of that player, right? And if you don't, then I don't know how you're going to copy and model it. I mean, you might watch him hit someone in a match and go, okay, what's in my brain? No, it's not. It's not in your brain if that's the effort that you're putting out there. So I would get a video of that model, and I would make sure that you watch it mostly in slow motion so that you can see what are and for the example I used, let's say it's 3 different parts. Can you actually identify what those three different parts are and then watch them? And that should be part of your daily Tom Stowe Wednesday morning 9 to 12 on the court thing, is imprinting on your brain. This is part one, this is part two, and this is part three. And eventually over those 30 days, you're going to stitch those three parts together, right? And then I would get out there and just man, have someone help you, or maybe you video yourself and you go and you rehearse part one without a tennis ball, and you come back and you compare it to the model. Are you pretty close, right? If you're not, well, then you got to make that comparison, that side-by-side comparison of, yeah, I'm close. No, I'm not. All right. Well, if you're not close, if you don't have a model, then I think you're kind of screwed on that thing, man, because you're going to be practicing the wrong thing. So, God darn it. There you have it. Look, if you want any help with this stuff, I'd love the opportunity to help you with it. Number one, to motivate, inspire you that this is the only way you're going to get better. Why go out there? And even if you're going to go out there today and you're going to go out for the next 30 days, you're going to practice like a dog. Are you 100% convinced that you know what it is you want to work on for the next 30 days? And if your thing is, well, if I just go out and hit 10,000 tennis balls, 100,000 tennis balls over the next 30 days, eventually I'll figure it out. Boy, that's the slow boat right there. And that's a scary boat, because I think you're going to be mylinating the wrong stuff over and over again. And I know I've done that. And I wish that I'd sort of had this practice plan for 30 days 10 years ago, because I think I'd be further ahead, right? So anyway, guys, that's it for me today. Would love to get your feedback on this down below in the comments area. Let me know. You can always shoot me an email, brent@webtennis.com. And look, if you want to do some private one-on-one work together with me, which would include the video, would include giving you a model, giving you, the side-by-side comparison with where you're at right now on whatever it is that you're trying to work on, I can do that for you. And if you want to do that, just let me know. Shoot me an email, brent@webtennis.com. And I'll get back to you. I'll let you know. Here's how I think we ought to take the next 30 days. Here's the price. And if you're willing to invest a little bit of money, I'm not crazy with the price, but if you're willing to invest a little bit of money into your progress, into becoming a better tennis player, into becoming, real with how to get there, shoot me an email. I'll let you know how it works. I'll get back to you, and then you can decide if this is something that you want to go for it or not. Up to you. All right, guys, that's it for me today. It's time for all of us. We got to get out there today. We got to help another human being have a spectacular day. Guys, see you again tomorrow.